On this week's show, we'll be discussing Star Wars Outlaws release date and pricing, all the fallout from Amazon's newest hit show, and Xbox doubling down on video game preservation. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game news and stories right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and up there on the digital clouds on your podcast service of choice. Joining me this week is Mr. Chris.
Good game, everyone. Hope you're all well.
Good game, everyone. No Rob. Rob is taking a brief hiatus, actually, from the podcast and the YouTube channel as he's dealing with some important work business, which is... He's been very busy, actually, to be honest, since like nearish Christmas time. He's been very busy, bogged down with work, and he's got some stuff to deal with. The disadvantages of running your own business sometimes. You've got to reprioritise.
Yeah, but I think we all traditionally have weekends off, but I think his work has trickled into his weekend extensively of late, and it's one of them things where if your free time is then being used by work time, where do you find your free time? And hosting semi-hosting a podcast every other week is like just sometimes it gets in the way. So
yeah, and like all of us, he's got like family and friends and stuff he needs to spend time with, loved ones.
He doesn't have any friends.
That's me. I'm Rob's friend. Apparently,
so
Chris is not Rob's friend.
He's dead to me now. That's it. I'm done. We're out.
Well, because he told us in advance that work's kicking his ass and he needs a break from the podcast so he can actually, focus on the stuff that actually pays his mortgage.
Absolutely. And the only way he's going to find out is by listening to this week's show, like you wonderful folks out there.
Rob, you're my friend. I love you. Chris doesn't, though.
Dead.
You're dead to Chris, apparently. But we do have a great show lined up for you. But before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already, you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell icon so you're kept in the loop of all our fantastic content here at GamerGuildTV. And this is where I usually go, such as our live stream, but we didn't have one.
No, the internet gods did not. It wasn't even actually the internet gods this time. It was something to do with a connection error. So for those who... Yeah, for those looking to attend, we signed up. We were going to play Lego 2K Drive, logged in. We did our usual pre-stream checks where can we get connected? Can we get each other in each other's party? And for whatever reason, I was playing via the cloud, and every time you went to play with friends, it just came up with an error message. We tried multiple things. We checked our 2K accounts. We logged out. We logged back in. We tried streaming it instead of from my PC. We tried it through the console via the Series S instead. Didn't like that either. And then after a while, we just went, we can either rearrange, we can scramble to find something, or we can just call time, and that's what we did. So apologies to anyone who did check out our stream on Thursday, but of course we'll be back later on this week with something new. Most likely, possibly, Richie, our Discord chat have been recommending we take a look at the old Fallout 76.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Fallout 76, because we have talked on the channel before about maybe one day playing it, and with the launch of Fallout, it feels like now's the time.
Now is the time.
I've already installed it on my Xbox.
Oh, well, there you go then. We'll have to look at that. Let us know in the comments below if you do want us to check out Fallout 76, because I do actually have some questions for our audience out there when we get to the Fallout news, so looking forward to getting into it.
Interesting. But before we get into what we've been playing, Chris, we have a merch store, and you are currently rocking the GamerGuild t-shirt.
Damn right I am.
You're looking very
It's too hot for jumpers now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. This is why you're my friend and Rob isn't.
It's entirely the power of the GamerGuild t-shirt that's making Chris look handsome. Usually, he looks hideous.
Wow. Now you know you're my friend.
I'm trying to pimp the merch. It's like my GamerGuild mug makes my coffee taste better.
That is a fact.
It's
non-disclosures.
Not. Yes, I can't confirm it worked for you. It works for me.
Wow.
But Chris, what have you been playing?
So as many of our viewers and listeners know, I've been in kind of in between games, and a couple of folks over on our Discord server the other week did a big shout out to Evil West, if you recall.
Okay.
They were saying it's like really fun, it's quite short, and I'm in that really good place this year where I don't have any kind of big looming passion projects. Like you dove into Final Fantasy Rebirth.
Yes.
Like that was like a non-starter for me completely. So that's like 100+ hours that I've retained for myself to play other things. So dabbled in Helldivers as you do, dabbled in a bit of FIFA. But the reality is, I was like, I want something to kind of dig my teeth into that isn't too big before next month with like Hellblade and stuff like that. And Evil West, it was on my radar. I think it was on Game Pass a couple of months back, but it then dropped onto PlayStation Plus, I think in the February PlayStation Plus offerings, I believe. So you probably own it as well, Richie, as part of the claimable games. And the best way I can describe this is it's distinctly double A, but it's if the Order 1886 took place in the Wild West.
Okay.
With a sprinkling of Jack Black's Brutal Legend from PlayStation 2.
But
3.
Is it good double A? Because double A sometimes is referred to, like, sometimes we look at games as double A that feel like they should be trying to be triple A, and other games are very comfortable. No, this is a double A game. It's a fantastic experience.
Yeah, this is very much what you've described
The
there.
latter.
This is super fun. It's nonsensical, doesn't take itself seriously. Basically, the premise is it's the Wild West, vampires exist, you and your friend, and you work for the Rentier Institute, which is basically a vampire hunting team across the US who's set up to protect humans from the vampire incursions. And shit pops off, as it usually does, and basically you go through multiple Wild West locations, so you're picturing like canyon locations, a coal mine, oil fields, because I'm guessing you're in and around the Texas area, the California zone. And you basically have like melee weapons. You get your pistol, your crossbow, your shotgun, your rifle, your typical like Wild West setup. But then as you go through, the whole point of the Rentier Institute, similar to the Order, is it's almost got like a steampunk vibe. So your weapons get upgraded with like electrical Tesla qualities. But it is very much just like punching through enemies, lots of explosions, daft witty humour on the side. The character art style is very, I'd say, close to Borderlands, but not quite. But just overall, game doesn't take itself too seriously. It's very much chaptered missions that last maybe half an hour tops per each. So the actual campaign, playing it on story mode, you could probably get through it in 8 hours, if that, 7 hours. So it's like nice and condensed. And I'm making my way towards the Platinum Trophy now. I've got to complete it on Evil mode. I think I've only got about 4 trophies left to do. So it's a nice straight road to Platinum. And thank you to everyone in the recommendations in our Discord server. It was on my radar anyway, but everyone's positive praise saying it was just super fun, just nonsensical, just have a laugh. Don't take it too seriously. I didn't. Plays great on the Portal as well for this trophy cleanup. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it, so definitely a recommendation from me, and thank you to those in the Discord.
Yeah, another reason why you should join our Discord.
Absolutely. How about yourself?
I think I'm burning out on Final Fantasy Rebirth, to be honest. I'm over 100 hours in, and there's still, without even going trophy hunting properly, there's still a lot of stuff to do in the open world. I enjoy it when I jump in, but it's no longer gripping my attention the way it used to. But I think that's just because I've played so much of it. So I think I am probably ready to go on. I'm going to give it another shot this weekend, but I think it might be that's it, unless I jump back and it gives me that reboost and re-interest in it. Because I haven't played in like a week. So I'm going to give it one more shot. If it gets its claws back at me, I might continue, but if not, I think I might be done with it. Yeah.
It's an interesting kind of reflection of game time when you said you put 100 hours in, and I would say you could complete Evil West 10 times over.
Yeah.
And that's like how varied some video games really are.
The thing is, if it was like I'm 100 hours in, and I think there's maybe 20 hours more and I get the platinum, that might be that thing that keeps me going. But I think I probably need another 40, 50 hours easy to get the platinum, because I would have to do a full playthrough in hard mode to get it. So, and the story's quite long. Even if you're skipping cutscene, it's like, you know, when I was talking about Final Fantasy 16, where I was getting burnt out, but I was desperate to get that platinum. It's like that, but I'm not. Since I've rolled credits, I'm so far away from that. With 16, I was fairly close.
It definitely takes some energy to like replay an entire story. It's like you wouldn't finish a book and then immediately read the book again. It's like it does take some like drive and energy, especially when it is so long. Did you end up getting the 16 platinum?
Yeah.
Solid
I think I did.
shout. You think I did? But yeah, I totally appreciate that. I think that's every game is, especially when like you want to branch out and like try new things and taste new things. It's hard to stay at the same dining table for so long eating the same meal when it's like there's a whole buffet over there of other things I could dig my teeth into, especially when you've got outside influences like Fallout TV shows and your friends talking about stuff as well. It's like, ugh.
And I think saying I'm burning out on a game over after 100 plus hours into the game shouldn't be considered a reflection of the quality of the game. It's like,
oh no, definitely.
Yeah,
you've got your money's worth.
Yeah, I've definitely got my money's worth. I didn't buy it. It was my girlfriend bought it. I borrowed it.
You leecher.
I've said that. I've been upfront about that the entire time.
Leecher.
So I'll probably, play a bit more and then might call it on time. But I have been playing some other stuff, Chris. I want you to see if you can guess what I've been playing. Because I don't think you'll get it.
Vinyl records.
No.
Oh, well, worth a shot. Fallout of some kind?
Not yet. I intend to jump in. But there's 2 games I've been playing over the last week.
Give me a clue.
I don't really...
Developer?
Blanking on the developer. I'm just going to tell you. I've been playing Lego Marvel Superheroes.
Ooh, that wouldn't have came to my mind. No.
Yeah, been playing that with my girlfriend. We've been, and Disney Dreamlight Valley.
Wow, look at you, a changed man. Look
I told you wouldn't get it.
I wouldn't get it. I'm shocked.
The thing is, Dreamlight Valley is one of them. We've talked about a handful of times on the podcast and stuff, and never really interested me. My girlfriend's been playing a bit.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? She seems to enjoy it. I want to see what the game is about a bit. And it kind of hooked me a bit. In the same way that, Lego Minecraft... No, was it Lego Minecraft?
The one within Fortnite?
Lego Fortnite. The same way that kind of did. Where for a very brief window, it captured my attention because I just needed that kind of quite casual, kind of zen kind of experience.
It's a cozy game.
Yeah, so after we cancelled the podcast, I was quite knackered that day. I jumped into Dreamlight Valley for a few hours before I went to bed. It was just that kind of very casual, no stress, there's no combat. So it's just it's nice. So relaxing game. It was like, I'm pretty chill with this.
Yeah, just go get some weeds, go collect some gems, come back and build a chair for your house, and it's just and it's got that Disney aesthetic that everyone's familiar with it as well.
Yeah,
you're bumping into familiar characters.
I'm not huge on Disney, to be honest. I never have been. I think as a kid, I can appreciate things. There's odd films and stuff I definitely enjoyed, but I've never been hardcore into the Disney stuff. But I'm enjoying it. I think if you're looking for quite a casual zen experience, it's worth checking into, just for very relaxing, no stress fun.
Yeah, completely agree. It's the one game, I think, other than Spyro, that my wife occasionally goes back to as well, where it doesn't matter if you've missed it for X amount of months, you can still jump back in and go, there's my home, these are my resources, what's today's mission? And you just go out and gather seashells or something for the Little Mermaid or something like that.
But the interesting thing is, my girlfriend, she's very much, she's into the story and stuff and what's going on, doing all the quests. I just want to build my village.
Yeah.
That's the stuff she doesn't enjoy. That's the stuff I do. So
craft away. Yeah, it's got something for everything. And the good thing with the Dreamlight Valley is it does encompass, like you're saying, you're not a Disney fan, but then when you get past the opening few hours, it branches out into Pixar. So you've got Toy Story and stuff coming into it, and then you've got Star Wars is inevitably going to be part of it, and then they've got Marvel as well. So it's got scope to grow into all these other areas, beyond just the core Disney. So yeah, I think that game will be around for many years to come.
Oh yeah, and it's free on Game Pass as well. So if you have Game Pass, it's one of them. If you've got kids and stuff, it's definitely worth checking out because I think it'd be great for kids.
Yeah, it's got that really good transvergence as well, whereas I think there's a mobile version of it, so you can kind of just pick up your play across save. I know I played it we played it on the Xbox to start with, and then I think I bought it for my wife on the Switch for when she was in hospital for a while with our baby, so she could play the same cloud save elsewhere, so it's, across all platforms.
My one issue I have recommending it for kids, though, is the monetization of it. It's not absolutely in your face, but it does exist. So I can imagine if you have kids are going to look at the store and go, Mum can have this, Mum can have that, Mum can have this. And that's when I think you can get into trouble with kids spending lots and lots. Where it's I'm not sure I like microtransactions and stuff that is very clearly targeted at young children.
Yeah, that's where the game started to lose my interest when I was playing with the wife, and it started to get that point where it was collect 56 type of this particular wood, and it was such a grind. I was like, right now it's started to lose me because it's forcing me to grind for these or pay for them for an easy win. And I was like, the balance is off. It was early days, so it might have just been balancing issues, but I tapped out at that point and just let her crack on.
I haven't found it invasive for what I've played, but I think because I can see the storefront there, sat there waiting... I would struggle to recommend it to my brother or sister for my nephews because of that.
Look at you.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But Chris, let's get into the news. Would you like to introduce us to
the graciously gathered Gamer Guild Gazette, a.k.a. the news?
The news. And as always, our news is brought to you by our Guild Heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p over on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV. Links for everything in the description below. We very much appreciate all the support you give. It helps us keep the lights on, helps us pay our bills, helps us pay our tax bill, helps us develop new intro, things like the animated intro you've been enjoying in this episode and every other episode of the Gamer Guild TV. That was paid basically by our members. We commissioned an artist to do that for us.
Yeah, we don't take a wage.
No, we don't.
For doing this shit.
Which is why Rob quit the podcast.
Absolutely.
We
weren't giving him enough. Free was not enough.
We couldn't keep up his daily rates.
Too expensive, man.
That's not true.
Inflation.
Yeah. Star Wars Outlaws, Chris. Looking forward to it?
Incredibly.
Me too, actually, because we do have a release date, sort of. Is the release date fully confirmed?
Yeah, it was part of the trailer they put out. So, that was the weird thing with Star Wars Outlaws is that we know there's a Ubisoft forward coming in June. So, if they'd held out 7 more weeks, this could have just been one of the biggest pops of their presentation. It's oh my god, they've given us a date, and it's so soon, June to August. My guess is they have legal things with their contract with Disney where they have to promote it from a certain point. So maybe it has a showing at Comic-Con this year, or stuff that predates not E3, Summer Game Fest, that era, where they need to hit these maybe promotional beats. So they're right, let's get it out there, let's talk about it, let's lock it in.
Yeah, it might
30th of August.
It might just be a case of Ubisoft, if you want to be the ones to reveal the date, it has to be done before Disney do any of their stuff. Mm. And if Disney doing some of their stuff in May, because you've got Star Wars Celebration in May, that seems like the place to do it, though.
It does, doesn't it? Let's see. Star Wars Celebration 2025 is April 18th, so it's in 4 days.
That should be May the 4th.
Oh wait, that's 25, wrong year.
But
let's see what it is. May 26th. No, that's wrong as well. Why does the internet not give you the right dates?
Right, Star Wars Celebration Disney is May the 4th. Get on it. Just make it May the 4th every year.
Yeah.
That way everyone remembers.
No, it's skipping 2024. Oh. That might be why then.
Right.
That's why I couldn't find all the dates were locked on for 2025 when I was typing for it.
Well, that's news that we weren't expecting to bring you, but we have.
Breaking news. No Star Wars Celebration. But there is Disney's D23, which is their kind of ultimate fan event where they always promote stuff that's going on in the park, stuff that's going on here. That's August 9th through to the 11th. So that's actually the launch of Outlaws. No, it's not. Sorry, it's 20 days out from the launch of Outlaws.
If it's 9th to the 11th, I think Outlaws is going to be a big thing there. That's going to be the last marketing push, isn't it?
Yeah, most likely. But in terms of that, I'm happy we have a date. This has been my big one.
You know what? Putting my optimistic hat on, maybe they wanted to get the release date of Star Wars Outlaws out the way now before the Ubisoft Plus, so they can focus on other stuff. So this is not going to then we finally got the date for Star Wars Outlaws. It's around the corner as all the journalists focus on that. Maybe some bigger stuff to come that they don't want to get overshadowed.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned last week about Assassin's Creed Red, that getting locked in for this year, so there's always that big risk.
That feels like September to me, though.
I think November's usually the cadence.
November, yeah. But you were talking before the show that you're slightly worried that, because Ubisoft seem to be bad at scheduling the games. We'll talk a bit about more of that in the Prince of Persia section later, but could Outlaws be at risk because if Assassin's Creed Red is too close?
August is very early, but then you've got to remember games generally get pushed back a little bit. So if this August date gets pushed maybe to 30th of October, 30th of September, then we start to encroach on the winter season of your Call of Duties, your EAs, your other big titles, and then let alone Ubisoft releasing the biggest Assassin's Creed ever at the same time, within the same window. They've done it before. Remember when Immortals, Watch Dogs, and Assassin's Creed all launched within a month of each other?
Yeah.
R.I.P. Watch Dogs.
And R.I.P. Immortals. I think one of the reasons Immortals is dead is because of that decision.
I agree. Even though it was the second best game out of the three. Watch Dogs deserved to die, unfortunately.
In some ways, I think Immortals could be considered to be the better. It was a bit more fun. It was a smaller experience, more respecting of your time. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a good first entry into a franchise.
Yeah, it really was. I had an absolute blast.
It was a nice position to build from, but...
Yeah. But in terms of Star Wars, though, Richie, hopefully it is a lot bigger. I'm expecting this to be a good 50-plus hour game, if not
really
the 100.
Good. When the devs have been talking about it, they were talking... There's a lot of things that seem to be ticking a lot of boxes that I seem to... Like, one of the things they've said is none of the worlds are procedurally generated.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a crafted experience. And you look at Starfield, full of procedurally generated stuff. You land on a planet, the biomes very much did feel like procedurally generated, and like a few random things dotted around the landscapes, a random selection of enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't that interesting. I didn't find it interesting to explore.
Yeah, same. Nothing. Absolute void. But again, and this is Star Wars, so it has that benefit of if you land on any familiar planets, you're used to what you're going to expect. And remember, this game takes place between Empire and Jedi, so it's like the golden age of
that was Disney
Star
suggested
Wars.
That when Ubisoft pitched a Star Wars game, they went, okay, you're thinking about a Star Wars game. They went for like an Outlaw, because then it's not tied to they're not tied to any major faction and stuff. And there's like Disney went, we know when you're going to set that. It was like, it's between these two films. And there was just, when it's like, you can imagine the buzz in the room. Like, oh, you guys are totally in on this. We're totally in on this. Yeah. And that's the impression I've been getting when I've listened to the devs talk about this game. It's like, it feels like a nice, perfect combination of a passion project. I can't believe I'm talking so optimistic about a Ubisoft game. What's happened to me, Chris?
Well, to be fair, it doesn't look like a Ubisoft game, probably partially thanks to the Star Wars aesthetic, but then partially because they've been given license to kind of go beyond their usual Assassin's Creed, Far Cry style MO. Yeah. And I think, with it being in the era that it's set in, that familiarity of like, we've got TIE fighters, we've got ATSTs, we've got... like in the trailer, like it's like spoilers for the trailer, but it's like you've got Jabba the Hutt, you've got Twilight, you've got the Crimson Dawn, who were last seen in the Han Solo movie. I don't know if you've actually read into it, but Emilia Clarke's character from it, I can't remember what the hell she was called. Kiara, yeah, something like that. Her character is actively in it on the Red Dawn panel, but it's not got the facial likeness of Emilia Clarke. So if you can overlook that, her character should be an integral part of the Crimson Dawn. And again, spoilers for the Solo movie, the Crimson Dawn has been overseen by none other than... Darth Maul. So there's antagonist potential here as well. Because this game is not going to have a 100-hour game without linking in with some kind of main storyline character.
Yeah, and what I kind of like from what I've seen from this game as well, they're doing the Rogue One thing where they go, what if we told a Star Wars story that didn't involve lightsabers and Jedi and Sith?
Mm-hmm.
Like, quite a grounded story, so you can get boots on the ground. What is it like living under the Empire? That kind of thing. Because there's so much interesting stuff to tell, I think, in the Star Wars universe. Mm-hmm. Outside of the main, like, Jedi-Sith war that goes over decades and generations. But yeah, I'm really actually getting quite excited for this game. It's like, it feels
ready.
It's ticking a lot of boxes.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited more so, I think, because I really enjoyed Jedi Survivor, and it was undoubtedly one of the best games of last year, but it did feel like more of the same. Yeah. Just literally, like, take the same, like, premise of, like, you go to your hub world, you travel to a planet, you do a mission, you come back, repeat. Not that this won't be any dissimilar, because it's still a game at the end of the day, but in terms of just the exploration element, Jedi titles are very much linear, and I appreciate them wholeheartedly for that, like going through like these corridors and up to this level. But this is very much like open world, so you're going to have whole vast areas to explore at your own leisure. You don't have to necessarily be funneled down a certain path to a checkpoint. This is, I can just leave the cantina, because it's going to be a cantina, and go anywhere. And if it's a Ubisoft game, chances are there's going to be a ton of stuff to do all over the map.
We know Tatooine's going to be in there, and the cantina's going to be in this game. That's already confirmed.
Sweet.
Well, but when the devs were talking about it, like, okay, you're an outlaw set in between episode 5 and 6, the Cantina and Tatooine, and like Mos Eisley especially, it's the greatest hub of villainy in the entire universe. Of course, an Outlaw's going to go there. Yeah. I bet you it's going to be a Han Solo cameo or a Chewbacca or something.
Yeah, as long as they don't do what the Battlefront story campaign did and just randomly let you play.
Han Solo.
Oh, he's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen carbonite at this point.
Oh, well, you might see him as a cameo.
Yeah,
he's in the trailer, right?
Is he? Han Solo?
I'm sure it showed you in the trailer.
That's a perfect way to do a cameo.
Frozen in
carbonite.
Solo,
actually. Because if you're not going to get Harrison Ford to do it, because he's pretty much done with Star Wars, so...
I mean, you don't need him for...
But if he's frozen in carbonite, don't need to worry. Oh, yeah.
But obviously this game is... now we've got a date. Now I was going to say, now we've got a date, we also have the pricing structure for multiple variations of this game. Break it down for us.
So there's 3 announced editions. The standard edition, which just gets you the game. I'm going to quote this in dollars because that's what Push Square have reported, and that's what I'm looking at. So it's $69.99.
Nice.
The gold edition gets you the game. The season pass, slightly disappointed that there's going to be a season pass, to be honest, but fine. 3-day early access with pre-order, and that's $109.99.
Which is £94.99.
Yeah, and UK. The Ultimate Edition is the game season pass, a Sabak Shark bundle. So I'm guessing you'll be able to play Sabak in this game. Rogue Infiltrator bundle, digital art book, and 3-day early access, and that's $129.99.
Which is £114.99 pence.
I'm not going to take any of these options.
You're going with Ubisoft Plus.
I'm going with Ubisoft.
You dirty scoundrel.
Yeah, it's like I don't care about necessarily owning the disc for this game. Why would I pay £70 for the game when I could just pay like 15?
Yeah. So this is the state of video games in general to some degree. And Ubisoft, with the Assassin's Creed games and Far Cry games and any of their big titles, they seem to have settled on this model quite a few years back now. Where I've noticed a lot of the internet like kicking off about it, but Ubisoft have done this for years now.
Yeah, and it's going to keep happening, and the reason this keeps happening is because people keep buying the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah, which
that's it.
As a business practice, here's the thing: we say it all the time on the show. Yeah. Just don't buy it. Like, you don't have to buy the top end one if you don't want it if you want it 3 days early. There's your incentive to buy it. Like, sorry, but as a business move, I paid extra for the Starfield one, albeit regrettably now. But you know what? I wanted to play it. I got caught up with the hype, and they got an extra, what was it, £20, £15 out of me to play it early, up to a week.
Yeah.
And Microsoft made millions off of that. And you know what? If it sucks for you, just wait the extra days.
As I said,
that's all.
I'm not going to go for any of these options. I'm going Ubisoft Plus. And for me, I don't have an issue with this. As long as the base game is a complete experience. If the season pass is like, right, it's DLC, it's additional it is actually truly additional content. It's not like we've chopped out a part of important plot points to try and nickel and dime you on it. Which I don't think they do that anymore. Because you occasionally see, like the meme of the jigsaw and like games nowadays versus games then. I don't feel that's true anymore. I don't feel like even like the worst proponents of it, like EA and Ubisoft, I'd never feel like they're cutting out content to sell you it again. I always feel it's just like, you know what, this is a solid experience on its own, and now we've got some extra stuff, which I don't mind. It's up to you if you want to buy the extra stuff. I personally very rarely do.
Yeah, the best place to look at this, if you go to Ubisoft's just their own website for it, it lays it all out like column to column, standard, gold, ultimate, and Ubisoft Plus, and Ubisoft Plus is in there so appetizingly because it says like £60, £95, £115, and then $14.99.
Yeah,
next to it, and like anyone in today's financial times, realistically, that should be your go-to choice. It's essentially getting the game on credit, monthly credit instead.
If you're a collector, you want to have the disc, then obviously go buy the disc. Like that's the decision that you're making. But if you're looking at, I want to play this game, what's the most cost-effective way to do it? It is Ubisoft Plus.
100%.
And I have no issues with a subscription service like Ubisoft Plus, as long as I can still go out and buy the game a la carte.
Yeah, and I think if you look at,
I'm happy.
if you look at the scope as well, so say this game is like 80 hours, give or take, 70, 80. If you pay 15 quid for Ubisoft Plus, maybe for 2 months, Richie, that's £30. Mm-hmm. Maybe push it an extra, that's 45. So they'll have got £45 out of you for a quarter of a year on Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah.
And that'll still be £15 less than the standard edition base game.
Yeah, if I have Ubisoft Plus active for 2 months to play Star Wars Outlaws, that's 30 quid for the game. I'm content. And then if I want to play it again in a couple of years' time, I could probably pick it up for 20 quid on Amazon.
Yeah. And then...
Or Ubisoft Plus it again.
I was going to say, and the flip side of that is not only that, you've got... Ubisoft do great for the cross-save. So if you wanted to play it on Luna...
They do.
Or you could play it on PlayStation or Xbox
Stadia
or PC.
Saves,
it's all there.
My Stadia saves, things like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I have available on other platforms.
They're just saved, which is great. And then you've got to remember, not only are you getting Star Wars, you're getting everything else. So if Ubisoft do decide to drop Assassin's Creed within that 3-month window, you might have it for Outlaws, you get Red as well. And you might get a Prince of Persia game as well. You might get whatever this Riders Republic season looks like this year. You might get The Crew. Oh, wait, no, they'll take that off you.
Yeah. Genuinely, yesterday, I was in a toy shop with my girlfriend, looking at these, and I was like, I'm going to get an Ubisoft Plus. And the reasons why is because I'll probably get Ubisoft Plus for Outlaws, but I might jump into Assassin's Creed Mirage. I might jump into Prince of Persia at the time. Games that I like the look of, but were not necessarily a day one for me. Mm-hmm. Why I have it, now's the chance.
And that's how they get you, and that's what I guess their hope is.
Yeah, but it's like, well, I don't mind that. That's to my benefit as well. But to their detriment, it means don't feel the pressing need to buy a Ubisoft game day and day unless it does look spectacular, because I'll just get it on Ubisoft Plus. When next time I have Ubisoft Plus, I'll jump into it at that point. Yeah.
And you know what? This is the first real time for me I'm starting to consider Ubisoft Plus, because you know me, I'm a collector of fine things.
One issue with Ubisoft Plus, though. It's not on PlayStation yet.
Oh, is it not?
As it stands, I was looking. I was not able to confirm that Ubisoft Plus is currently on PlayStation.
It's not. No,
we've talked about it before. We've heard rumours, and it's always been coming soon, but it's not currently active, which means I'm playing this on Xbox. So that's another win to Microsoft, because I don't want to pay 70 quid just to play it on one console when I could pay 30, maybe 15 to 30 quid and play on a different console. Both consoles I own.
Yeah.
It would be better on PlayStation because I've got a Series S, but...
Right, that might have just made my decision up then.
Cause on PlayStation.
I'll go the other way because I'll probably go for the Platinum on this one. And
I genuinely called that when I was talking to my girlfriend yesterday. Like, Chris, I'm going to get an Ubisoft Chris, because he can't get an Ubisoft Plus and he wants the trophies, or he wants the collector's edition, he's going to buy the game. I totally called it.
I mean, pretty much. This would have been my probably really stumbling block, because I want to play it 3 days early. Thankfully, it comes out the week of my birthday. So this might be a treat from a loved one to me instead. So I'll maybe push the board out for a higher edition.
Well, you've just burnt bridges with Rob, so it's not going to be from him.
No, it's definitely not going to be Rob. But yeah, if I go for the gold edition, I have the benefit through the Ubisoft store where I usually get them. You can use your Ubi coins. Remember those things? They're like the little currency you get for getting achievements within Ubisoft games. I have 330 Ubi coins. I can spend 100 of them to get 20% off the game price. So I can get the Outlaws Gold Edition with 20% off, which brings down about, 60-something quid? 70 quid? 74 quid?
It brings it basically in line with the base version.
Yeah.
So you get the season pass and the early access for free, effectively.
Yeah. And the season pass, I think, probably could be really good for this type of game, because by the nature of what it is, a season pass could have you still travelling all over the place with good story content. My issue,
what I don't like about season passes is, I don't mind a season pass existing, but announce what the content, what it covers. You're paying for something that you don't know what you're paying for with the season pass, because it could be a bunch of absolute pointless crap, or it could actually be another world, more story content. You generally have no idea at this point in time.
Although I might not be getting it, because looking at the rules of the Ubisoft store, not applicable on pre-orders, new releases of less than 3 months.
Oh, well, then you can't.
Which that's what they changed a while ago, because I got Valhalla and other ones with the 20% off, so they've screwed themselves over there. Here's your loyalty points, but you can't use your loyalty points on being a loyal customer and buying stuff day one. No, we don't.
They want to get the full price out,
But
so
is the whole point of a loyalty program to reward your loyal people who play your games and spend money on your games and are actively there for day one purchases, and yet you're fucking them over?
No, that's a naive view, Chris. The whole point of a loyalty program is to keep you buying their products.
Okay, but you're rewarding loyalty by giving me points, but then you're pulling the rug out from under me by saying, you can't spend them on day one releases. And being a loyal person, I'm there day one. So I've got a decision to make now. But if it's not on PlayStation, that's my decision made anyway.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to me, is what I'll say. I'm just glad I won't have to spend my own money on it. But either way, the game looks great. I can't wait for it. I'm glad we've got a date. I'm glad it's coming quite early. And shout out to Amazon Luna, because this will be the biggest game they've probably arguably ever had on their platform launch.
Is it confirmed for Luna?
Yeah, Ubisoft website, PC Digital, PS5 Digital, Xbox Digital, and
nice.
Luna Cloud in brackets on their pre-order site.
We've got some more news about Luna actually in our next story, Chris, because we're going to talk about Fallout. So let's touch on the Luna stuff. Luna's getting Fallout 3 in New Vegas. That's the Luna news.
Surprise. That's again, I think, without brushing it aside too much, I think Luna's doing some interesting things with the GOG news, and then we covered off last week's show. They've got the old Lego games, Indiana Jones and Pirates of the Caribbean, out of nowhere, which I think were PS2 games, we said. And then this week to turn around and say, well, guess what? Fallout's just launched on Prime. Here's New Vegas and Fallout 3. Disappointing they didn't have 4. It seems like they've missed a trick there.
Every time it looks like they're doing something interesting. Like Fallout 3, amazing game. New Vegas, amazing game. It's like, why isn't 4 on this list as well?
Arguably the one you want most people to jump into.
The two games that, there's 2 Fallout games most people will be looking to jump into at the moment. Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. So you're just like, these are fantastic games. Great to have good library games.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they move the needle enough for Luna. It's more of a footnote in the story rather than an the focus of the
I think
Fallout
it's
news.
A promo, because if it's free to Prime customers now, so you don't need Luna Plus. It's free for Prime. So I think this is very much, if you're watching the show, here's the click to play link on the storefront to Amazon Luna. Play it now, and it's free to all the millions and millions of Prime subscribers out there, myself included. So I opened up Amazon Luna, I checked out New Vegas. It's there with mouse and keyboard support as well. The menu functions, so I checked out how it worked through the Prime link. There's a big banner across the top of Luna saying Prime customers watching the new show, play Fallout now through Luna. So there's a lot of inherent promotion. But yeah, I think missing Fallout 4 is an issue. My guess, if I was to put a guess on it, is because the next gen, which we're going to talk about, the next gen Fallout 4 updates are coming. I think maybe making a version for Luna was a stretch too far for the devs, and they've had to cut corners. As we saw with Stadia quite often, is it goes on the back burner because they've got to prioritise PS5, PC, Series X, etc., and Luna's the bottom of that pile.
Yeah, let's talk about the next gen updates, because the next gen updates have been confirmed for a while, but we've actually now got the release date for them. So it'll be Thursday, the 25th of April. So it's round the corner, which makes sense that they've probably working hard to get this out in time for the show.
It's such a shame it didn't hit the launch.
Yeah, but I think it's still, although Amazon dropped Fallout in one chunk, I think it's going to take most people probably a few weeks to get through it, so it's still going to be in there. In some ways, actually having it delayed keeps your appetite wet for Fallout, because I'm into Fallout, I want to play some Fallout. It's like, the next gen launch is coming, so instead of jumping into Fallout 4 or 3 on New Vegas and playing for one evening and going bouncing, you're like, I'm going to keep playing for the upgrade.
Yeah, and in this Fallout segment, because I guess we're going to talk about everything to do with Fallout for the next 15 odd minutes. I do think it was a mistake to drop the show all at once, because I suspect that wasn't the plan initially, and these game updates were due to launch maybe 3-4 weeks into the show's run. So out of how many episodes is it, the series?
8.
So literally halfway through your season, then the updates come. Because my worry here is, if people binge this show, and then the next gen update doesn't come for another 2 weeks, how many people are going to go, I'm kind of off the Fallout bandwagon now. It's gone beyond me. Whereas if we were halfway through a critically acclaimed season, you might be like, oh, this is hitting at the perfect time. I'm a few episodes in, the story's getting great. The finale's like a few weeks out. I'm going to get in my teeth into it now. Whereas if you binge it and then something else comes along, it's like, next gen update, I've skipped it. It's gone. It's missed me.
I think you're right. For me, I like to binge the show because I've watched every episode. I absolutely binged it over this weekend, and I like to consume shows in that fashion. However, I do think it's better for the show to be a weekly drop, because that weekly drop gets people talking about it every single week, where I think the main news coverage of Fallout is going to be, rather than covering it over the span of 2 months, it's going to be very focused in 2 or 3 weeks and it's done. Then all the major news outlets stop talking about it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't keep that, like how we watch like YouTube channels and stuff that do like weekly reviews of episodes. Yeah. Like we did the same thing ourselves with the ClickerCast last year for
The Last
of Us. Yeah, I just had a complete blank there. But for The Last of Us, but obviously with it dropping every week, because we did actually once upon a time talk about maybe doing something similar for Fallout 4, but with it dropping all in one go, it's just not viable.
No, you just have to do a one-off episode, wouldn't you, of like our Fallout review?
Yeah, so it's done. Harming your kind of release in that way, because, well, we just went, instead of dropping in one go, we're not going to cover it like that, because there's just no way we could reasonably do it. But
it's odd that they have done it, because Amazon traditionally don't drop things all in one go, from what I remember from the shows I watch on there. But yeah, you're right. It's a shame about the cadence of the drop. I do think this is maybe just too many people involved. Like, you've got the film side of things, you've got the game division, you've got multiple platforms. I think maybe it was just someone's decision to go all in one go, and they didn't really have to go to the other teams and say, is this okay, is this a thing? Or did someone just make an executive decision then? They were like, the game side of things were like, well, shit, that's just missed our deadline by a month then.
I've got a feeling, to be honest, this is probably Amazon themselves going through like all the metadata, and like probably things like Rings of Power probably had a massive drop off after the first few weeks. And they'll go, how do we prevent that? Because if a show is fairly mediocre, you've got an entire week between episodes to kind of just go, I can't be bothered to watch that anymore. Where if it's just like, it's like it's kind of good and not quite great, you might go, you know what, it's one more episode. So there's probably pluses and minuses. So they'll have looked at the metadata and went, we think this is the best way to release this show. Or at least you'd hope that's what they've done.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the games, Chris, because as it stands, I'm going to leave Xbox completely aside for this, because Bethesda's owned by Microsoft. It's on Game Pass. Fill your boots, Xbox fans. The new updates actually are not coming to Series S, so just Series X. Just that caveat. So me and you, Chris, on our Series S, don't get that upgrade. I think Fallout 4 plays well enough anyway, so I wouldn't be overly concerned if I only had a Series S and wanted to play the game. Let's go talk the PlayStation side, because I have some consumer advice.
Ooh.
It is on PlayStation Plus at the moment, but it is leaving in May. It's currently on sale for £4.
Right.
So if you want to play Fallout 4, my advice, and that sale is a short-term sale, I think it only runs for a few weeks.
Right.
I think it ends just before the next-gen update. So my advice will be, if you've got PlayStation Plus, jump into Fallout now. If you like it, buy the game. Because then you'll get the PS5 update. And it's £4. Again, my girlfriend did it last night.
This is where advice-wise definitely comes into place. So, you like for viewers and listeners, you probably know my history with Fallout. It's non-existent.
Lack of, yeah.
So it's one of those things where Bethesda's always been like an odd blind spot in my library of titles, and Starfield was kind of the big one that got me hyped. The interesting thing with Fallout, though, as a franchise, as a distant viewer, it's always had my intrigue. I think the premise is super cool, like the vaults, the nuclear fallout, and the world of like rad roaches and the Pip-Boy and stuff. Like, I know so much about this franchise without ever touching it. It's just one of those where I think, because I'm inherently like into video games, there he is, little bobblehead. I did see that show up in episode 1, and I was like, hey, to the wife, I was like, you can buy that. That's an actual thing you can have. along with I'm sure many other like Easter eggs that show up.
Mine was a pre-order
show.
bonus for Fallout 4 because I got the Steelbook as well.
Right. Nice. But I have, like I've said to you off camera, I have 2 copies of Fallout 4. Randomly. I believe I got one when I ordered the BioShock Trilogy Collection and game, which are in the news later on, the shop game, the retail store. They messed up with my pre-order and I had to wait like 2 extra weeks and I had to badge them through I actually went to Twitter to get an answer from them eventually, randomly of all things, and they finally got my Steelbook in because it was a collector's edition one, and the guy behind the counter was randomly just like, oh, it comes with this, and gave me a copy of Fallout 4 on the PS4. And I was like, didn't mention it anywhere, didn't ask for it. I'm guessing it was maybe an attempt to appease me from complaining. Not that I was that angry, it was just frustrated more than anything at my pre-order missing a date.
On the books, you've put that through as a sale and laundered some money there.
I mean, we're going to talk about game later on in the news, but so I had a copy and I never opened it because I think I got a copy from somebody. I don't know, somehow I inherited 2 copies of Fallout 4. I've got one unopened, one opened at some point. But and I've never played it, so like now I've got this weird option where I have watched episode 1 of the show. Me and the wife started watching it because we started Shogun on Disney Plus because it got rave reviews. Yeah. She didn't get quite into it. I enjoyed it from what I watched, but then I was like, right, well let's put a pin in that one. We'll skip Shogun, but Fallout apparently is getting rave reviews, a little bit more lighthearted, and it's maybe got a more interesting premise for you. So we should watch episode 1. Both thoroughly enjoyed it. Thought it was fantastic. Can't wait to watch more.
It's gory.
It's interesting, but I think like the comedy element and like the plot thing, not the plot twist, but I guess the twist in episode 1 was like I could see something coming. I was getting very much Red Wedding vibes.
Yeah.
During the wedding, and then obviously stuff happens. We won't give any spoilers away, but what I would say is definitely if you're a fan of the show or the game or not, this is a recommendation from just one episode for me. Now you said you binged the whole thing.
Yes.
What's your overall thoughts, spoiler free, then, on people watching this show?
I binged the whole thing. Go watch it. I think binging 8 hours plus of a TV show in the space of 2 days shows that I enjoyed it, because I would not have done that if I wasn't enjoying it. One of the things, there's some nice stuff that I like. It doesn't shy away from the fact that it's a video game. There's points of that show, it almost looks like, I'm playing a video game without playing a video game. Some like the way they use things like the stim packs to just inject the thing into themselves and then they miraculously heal.
Yeah, there was a few times in episode 1...
It doesn't make sense in any sort of medical history that you could even be believable in that world, but it's like, fuck it, it's a video game. Yeah,
there's a few times in episode 1 when I kind of like rephrased with the wife. I was like, right, my understanding of this is from the game, so yeah, with the stim packs, I was like, in the game, you would probably just be low on health, you'd stab yourself and you'd be better.
100%, yeah.
I was like, that's probably a very video gamey trope. Same with like the Pip-Boy. I started explaining like that's like used in game for a lot of like I'm presuming like your biometrics, your map, your weapons, like all your stats essentially. What would be a pause screen?
I mean, you see Lucy use it throughout the show for various like in-game things. Even there's little things as it's your torch. So if you go into dark areas, you turn your torch on. Yeah. So she uses it as you would, and in the game when you go into your pause menu, it does that. You know, the kind of GoldenEye look at the watch thing.
Yeah,
that's how it does like with the Pip-Boy.
Yeah, so I'm glad so far. It seems to be getting loads of rare reviews. Over on Rotten Tomatoes, not that they're the best reviewer for it all, but 94% on the tomato meter, with an average audience score of 87.
Yeah, with Rotten Tomatoes, it's not a review score; it's more of a recommendation score. So 94% is 94% of people recommend you go watch this show.
But I really enjoyed the premise. I thought the way they set up the characters, with giving like dedicated probably 20 minutes in episode 1 to each. So it's like, he's Lucy, he's our Walter Goggins character, he's the Marine guy. I don't know if I give him his name or not.
The guy from the Brotherhood of Steel, Maximus.
Yeah, I do need to ask Brotherhood of Steel, because that was the one thing that threw my wife off a little bit. It was like, at what point did military and the church cross over to this thing where it's like, in a dystopian Fallout future, why is it that we start referring to everyone as like knights, and that's so instead of just lieutenant and captain, and like why is all of a sudden a priest in charge of a military group?
I don't know the
is
full
it just
history
is it just a faction thing?
It is a faction thing, And like you can join the Brotherhood still throughout, so like in any Bethesda game, as you go up the faction, you get a new title. So like you go from maybe Squire to Knight, and so on. It's that kind of thing. But but it's not new that this is a kind of like pseudo-religious, pseudo-military organization from like a post-apocalyptic wasteland thing. So it's like
it's
like they're a cult basically. They indoctrinate people into that cult that the Brotherhood is still. Are the only people who can kind of save the wasteland. Yeah. And then they use their military might to do so because it's fucking dangerous.
I did suspect that. I was like, there'll probably be like military on the surface left who like they still need to save society, I guess, in a way, but then they're influenced by like it is the end of the world, so the normal rules maybe don't apply, so they've got like a warp, like you said, a cultist version of what they perceive to be the right thing. They
have the rules that they follow that they think the rest of the world should follow that they try to impose on everyone else.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. But yeah, everything in the vault I thought was super cool. It reminded me of Lost with the hatch so much. Like everything just like maintained underneath. The characters were great. And then thoroughly in so far. Probably going to watch another episode or two tonight if we get the time. But yeah, and it's give me that vibe of like, right, once I wrap up on Evil West, probably later this week, then I'm back to that place of like, what do I play next? And now, thanks to multiple subscriptions and platforms, I have Game Pass, giving me all the Fallout games a la carte. I've got PlayStation, where I've got 2 copies of Fallout 4 and a next-gen version imminently incoming. And then I've got Luna with the cloud saying I'll actually play it anywhere with Fallout 3 and New Vegas, included with Prime. So I want to put it over to our audience out there. I'll ask for your opinion as well, but... Our audience, let me know in the comments below, do I play Fallout 3? Do I play Fallout 4? Do I play Fallout New Vegas? Or do I just play Fallout 76 as the perpetually carrying game that's going on? So let us know in the comments. Richie, you're the Fallout expert out of the two of us.
I'm not. I wouldn't even call myself a Fallout expert that much, to be honest. I was like you before Fallout 4.
Right, Fallout you can be my pit boy.
Yeah, Fallout 4 was the first one I really played. I went back and played bits of 3 in New Vegas, but it's only been bits here and there. My recommendation would be Fallout 4, because it's the one I know the most about, and it's the newest one. And they all largely follow the same premise, different storylines and stuff. It's like every Elder Scrolls game largely follows the same premise, but different storylines, different parts of the country. Probably don't get bogged down in the Minutemen stuff in Fallout 4, though, because you'll just lose all your time to it.
All my minutes.
Yeah. Fallout 76, I can't recommend because I've not played it, so I'm going to save that to play with our audience. But Fallout 76 is a multiplayer game.
Yes.
Fallout 4 is a single-player game.
Yes. And you said, I think, when Starfield was coming up, do you think Fallout leans more towards my taste than Starfield perhaps would?
I don't know, because you like sci-fi and you like post-apocalyptic stuff, so I'm not sure where I would go either way. However, I think you might enjoy Fallout a bit more, because where you had some bugbears with Starfield's almost like old-fashioned game design. The last time I played Fallout 4 was 2018, and I think it dropped in 2016 off the top of my head. So the fact that it's like an 8, almost 10-year-old game potentially, I think is something where you'll maybe give it a pass on some aspects of its game design.
But Fallout,
more so than you were willing to for Starfield.
Yeah. Well, I think Fallout 4 has had it. It's stood the test of time now, though, as well, hasn't it? As you said, like an 8-9-year-old game, it's still revered as like a great Fallout game.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame we have to wait so long.
I think you'll jump into Fallout 4 and get even more annoyed at Starfield.
Interesting.
Because you'll see, I think you'll see more clearly how little the game design has evolved.
Yeah. That's that
different game, but there's a lot of aspects like, especially with them both being shooters.
Now I'm thinking about, I think the reason I didn't get Fallout 4 is did it
launch the same
twice? Yeah, I know. The day I didn't buy it or play it went out, because I remember at the time thinking like, this could be like my Fallout. I'll jump in and get in on 4 because of all the hype around it. I think it came out the same time as one of the Tomb Raider games, so I opted for the Rise of the Tomb Raider or something instead.
Yeah.
Because that was like my familiar franchise, so I was always going to play that day one. And then I think by the time I'd probably wrapped on Tomb Raider, I was like, I don't need to jump into another Fallout game.
It must be, if it's one of the Tomb Raider ones, it must have been Rise, because I think Shadow would have been too recent. And I played the original Tomb Raider on PC because I didn't own a PlayStation at the time. So, because I got Fallout on PlayStation, so I'm guessing Rise.
Rise of the Tomb Raider release date.
Yeah.
November 10th, 2015. Yeah, it was Rise of the Tomb Raider and Fallout 4 on the same day.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, I'll have played Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Before we go into some of the other big stories, when I was researching the Fallout news, because I knew it was leaving in May, but I was looking for a source, I've got some sad news for PlayStation Plus, Extra and Premium. There's a whole host of games about to leave the service in May. And I don't want to dwell on them, but I do want to cover it because it's a bloody good list of games.
Well, as a caveat, remember, this is when the PlayStation 5 launched, PlayStation curated a list of classic titles that they reckon if you've never been in the PlayStation ecosystem before, here you go, and they give you the list you're about to read off. They give us them all day one. So if you just bought a PS5, you got a phenomenal library stacked from day one, get-go. And then I think they announced about 6 months ago this list was going to end, and everyone was like, oh, well, that's a shame. But that's like, well, actually, the PlayStation 5 is now in its fourth year. These titles, like that library was there to incentivize people to get it day one, whereas 4 years in, it's kind of like, if that incentive's already served its purpose, then stop giving them away for free, pretty much. So this isn't like the catalogue that we talk about on a monthly basis. This is like the core group of like curated list. Yeah,
I still think it's a disappointment because some of these are first-party titles.
Yeah.
Or so intrinsically linked with the PlayStation, they might as well be. So I'll go through the list now, and then we maybe pick one or two that you want to point out, or we can just move on. So the list is Batman Arkham Knight, Battlefield 1, Bloodborne, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombies, Chronicle Edition, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Days Gone, Detroit Become Human, Fallout 4, which is the inspiration for this section, Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition, God of War, Infamous Second Son, The Last Guardian, The Last of Us Remastered, Monster Hunter World, Mortal Kombat 10, Ratchet & Clank, Resident Evil 7, Uncharted 4 Thief's End, and Until Dawn. That is a list of games to go in one go.
Yeah, if you're out there thinking I've been out of games for some time, and you were to pick up a console with a list, like, yeah, I think
it's
with
such
this
a varied list, it's like
it is, and it's a great list to start with. But you can almost see though from reading the list, it is like a moment in time that was captured, and it's very much like missing a lot of current or what we would call as more like contemporary titles. My guess is they had like just a 4-year lease on a lot of these third-party ones. Just like, yeah, we'll keep it for 4 years in this collection. We'll give you X amount of money, and we'll just wrap it up in evidently 2024.
Yeah, these will be leaving in May.
I can see it,
to be specific.
I wouldn't be surprised if the first-party ones continue in some guys with the catalogue, though. I think they're probably going to do a promotion. Maybe they're going to kickstart May and say, guess what? God of War, Infamous, Uncharted, all back in the PlayStation Plus catalogue, because, like you said, they are their games, they own them, so having them not included is like, well, hang on a minute, I'm playing for a PlayStation Plus subscription, you tell me I ain't getting Uncharted 4? Or The Last of Us? Or God of War? That's an odd one.
It could be like a 4D chess move. We're going to let all these go in one go, and then we're going to slowly, over the next few years, bring them back as random PlayStation Plus games, either claimable or into extra premium.
Yeah.
But let's move on to Chris. Is Dead Space dead? Did you play the Dead Space remake? We did a bit on
stream together.
We did, yeah. But did you play any more off stream?
I'm too scared to play on my own. You know this. I would have played more with you because I had a great time with it. Yeah. But no, I actually have Dead Space. You know, when I bought my fat PS3 with the backwards compatibility, the guy sent. You know, I just have some luck for being sent random games with things. He sent me a copy of Dead Space on PS3 with it. Wasn't in the initial sale listing, but he obviously didn't want to keep hold of the game if he didn't have the console any longer. So yes, I have Dead Space.
My girlfriend's very tempted to buy a PS3 because she wants to play Final Fantasy 13 and it's PS3 only. But it's not being ported to any modern platforms as far as she's aware.
Yet.
Yeah, and it's not on like the PlayStation Classics or anything, so it's like you can't even get it through cloud gaming. And then there's just a whole list, because we actually saw in like it might have been CEX, like there's a lot of PlayStation games in Middlesbrough, Chris. PS3 games gone for £1 or £2.
I might have to go.
Pre-owned, but it's...
Yeah, I mean, they are all pre-owned by now.
You could go in with that, yeah, but it's like, I thought I'd just let you specifically be aware of that, because I know you do occasionally like to go back, because you just bought the Bond games, haven't you? But it might be worth having a look. And they had quite a selection.
this week on Chris's random acquisitions, I actually bought, while randomly talking about this, I got a multi-pack
of cereal?
last week. Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, after the Amazon Luna stuff. Star Wars,
Episode
Clone
3,
Wars, Star Wars 3. No, it's not Episode 3. It's Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars. So this is where the Lego games bought into like everything Star Wars.
But also, the Clone Wars was Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. But
and I can't remember which other Lego one I got. I might have been Indiana Jones 2 or something as well. Basically, a bunch of Lego games. Got them, all 3 of them, for £10 on eBay. It's like a triple pack.
Yeah.
All 3.
Yeah, but so if you ever feeling the itch, I recommend going to CX in Middlesbrough and having a look, because there were some bargains and some decent titles in there as well. Yeah,
CX got to be good for one thing.
Yeah, Dead Space 2. Apparently, there was a lot of rumours that Dead Space 2 remake was in the works, but it's since been reported and kind of corroborated by Jason Schreier of Bloomberg that Motive were working on another Dead Space game, but for pitches, but it never got greenlit, and now they're working on something completely different.
Yeah, well, we reported last week Motive were moved over to the battle. Oh, have we reported last week, or is it in this week's news? It might be next. I can't remember. But Motive have been moved over to help support with Battlefield. They tweet out about it, saying they're thrilled to join the Battlefield connected universe, which we don't know how much of the team has moved over. But yeah, Motive did Dead Space Remake, and in my mind, Dead Space Remake was like received very, very well. It was in a lot of Game of the Year nomination awards. It shit all over Callisto Protocol, which was its competition, and yet seemingly it didn't do the numbers from what we've seen. And my impression, similar to yours, was they would just follow that Resident Evil roadmap of we'll do Dead Space Remake, we'll do 2. And I think the general consensus was because 3 wasn't that well received, they would maybe use 3 as an opportunity to tweak the story and mould it in the way ready for maybe a 4th entry in the series, like with the full hype build up.
They actually do a proper, instead of just making the game again, we're going to remake the game from concept and change a lot.
Yeah, and if it wasn't well received, that's like your perfect opportunity to like just keep it. And as someone who missed out on these games, just like Resident Evil, it's like, that's great. Like, the one thing holding me back from playing the Resident Evil remakes is 1. I don't want to start at 2. I don't want to go 2, 3, 4 and then them announce 1 in like 5 years' time, and I want to be like, God damn it, I want to just play through the whole thing. So, but Dead Space has that perfect opportunity. They started at 1, it was reviewed well, it looked phenomenal, it was scary as shit still, it held up, and they have 2 and 3 in the pipeline just ready to go. It kind of baffles me with Metal Gear when they're starting at 3. With that remake, it's like, I would have rather done 1, but that's aside.
To confirm, at the moment, EA Motive is currently a 2-project team, with Battlefield being one of the projects and Iron Man being the other.
Oh yeah, I forgot again.
So Iron Man seems to be the focus, but apparently they were pitching. It's not confirmed whether it was Dead Space 2 remake or a new entry in the franchise, but Dead Space is currently not being worked on by Motive, as far as EA have publicly stated and Motive have stated.
Yeah, now, that is a shame, but at the same time, maybe these remakes do need a bit of breathing room.
Yeah.
So you've got Dead Space 1. We know that will have a resurgence every Halloween, because horror games always do. So let Dead Space 1 sit for a couple of years' time. Let's say they wrap up on Iron Man maybe in the next year or 2. Then they look at the next project and go, you know what would be a nice little money maker, like with a short turnaround? We remake 2. And see if maybe the waters are better tempered for that type of audience in a few years' time. Yeah. And if it doesn't do well, they can reassess it again. But I think, maybe give Dead Space 2 remake 5 years to breathe.
Yeah.
And maybe come back to it. Because the good thing with remakes is it's not like if they're dead in the water, it doesn't matter, because the original is still there. You can play Dead Space 2 on Game Pass right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, because it was getting pitched, it might be, the green lighting might have just went, no, we're not going. It might be a case of, we're not going to green light this now because we need you doing some stuff for Battlefield, because EA have got. I'll just join this next story, these 2 stories together while we're talking EA, because Battlefield 2042 is getting wrapped up with EA developers focusing on Battlefield Connected World projects. So it might be a case of we need Motive working on that project as well.
Yeah,
and then you've already got Iron Man. It's like, there's your 2 things. We're not going to greenlight Dead Space right now, but it might be once Iron Man's off the table, we'll reconsider.
Yeah, I think
it could be a case of Dead Space 1 didn't do the numbers. No, we're not doing it.
It's dead.
You had your chance, but
I think I don't think it would be ever dead forever because, again, I think it is a very much a revered franchise. I just think, just maybe, as you said, priorities don't line up for EA right now. But, it doesn't matter because, like I said, the original's still there to play. So if you've got the itch, it's readily available. And if you want to wait, then great. You've got an Iron Man game coming in a new Battlefield, seemingly. Do you think they should still be pushing ahead with Battlefield? Because they've had about 10 cracks at the whip now to beat Call of Duty down. And seemingly Battle 42 was an absolute shit show, which I'm actually surprised Season 7 is still
I was surprised,
a thing. Yeah. Like, I was like, wow, they're still actually supporting this.
They did turn a corner, I think, a few years back. But damage is done. I think these games need to, if you want to kind of go up head-to-head with Call of Duty, you need to come out the gate swinging. Otherwise, they probably had a stable player base, but just not strong enough.
Yeah, I mean, shooters do well, don't they? Like, in general, I think EA maybe don't care as much because of the success of Apex. Like, they're like, well, we have our shooter, and it's making a shed ton of money, like, week in, week out. Why bother doing this? The same with, like, why they don't do Titanfall. Titanfall 2 has one of the best campaigns in video game history. I know everybody gushes over it, and yet they never acknowledge the existence of wanting to do a Titanfall 3. It's always the question that's asked, and our leadership always do is go, we've got other ideas at the moment.
It literally might be a case of there's no passion for it within the teams. Because the ways these things seems to work is the developer goes to EA as the publisher and pitches their ideas. Then EA, the publishing arm, picks and chooses, goes, we'll green like that. And if there's no solid pitch coming from Titanfall, because, well, the devs are working on Apex Legends and maybe want to, when they're not working on Apex Legends, stretch the wings a bit, don't want to get locked into a franchise.
Yeah, well, speaking of locked in a franchise, remember they had a Star Wars first-person shooter that got canned, along with the layoffs that they did back at the beginning of the year when they closed. They had Ridgeline Games as well also went. Yeah. But then, this connected Battlefield universe, like, what does this look like?
I've got a feeling this is going to be some Assassin's Creed Infinity bullshit.
just Battlefield, and you get Hardline, Battlefield 1, everything else. I don't know. 2042.
They're like, go, we're doing a Battlefield connected world project. It's like, but what does that actually mean in terms of how players interact with your game? Because if it's just effectively a lobby, then is it needed? With Assassin's Creed, I can see them cross-pollinating the narrative, but Battlefield doesn't really have one. It's
interesting.
I don't know.
Isn't it weird that 2042 is not that far away?
No.
Like Battlefield, like such an odd year to pick. Like Cyberpunk 2077 was so far away, but 2042 doesn't seem too far off. We won't even be retired by then. Yeah, my daughter will be 20 nearly. Yeah.
You never know. We might be covering on the GamerGuild podcast and going, it's now this Battlefield was set in this universe. Let's have a retroactive look at Battlefield 42 and see how well it stood up.
And I guarantee it'll see a resurgence in players in 2042. Which is I
guarantee we'll look outside the window and it'll look more like Fallout out there.
I mean, I mean, based on this current news.
Yeah, Chris is the ghoul.
But
Rob's become a super mutant.
I mean, part of me thinks I'd love to see them have another bash at Medal of Honor instead of, like, the last Medal of Honor game was a stupid VR pointless thing. I mean, it wasn't stupid, it was probably great, but you know what I mean? Like, you've got Medal of Honor sat there in your library of IP, and you keep doubling down on Battlefield. It's like, give us a Medal of Honor game, come on.
I think Medal of Honor had its heyday, but then everyone got burnt out on World War II shooters. But it's been a while.
It's been a long time, yeah.
Well, with Call of Duty World War II.
45.
The Call of Duty World War II came out, but I don't know. I think Medal of Honor could, if you're looking at EA and go, all right, our two flagship shooters are going to be Battlefield, it's going to cover modern day stuff, and there's going to be Medal of Honor, it's going to cover historic stuff, and kind of, how there's multiple like variants of like Call of Duty from different series. You could do that kind of thing. Probably not every year, but yeah. But let's move on to the death of video game on the high street. Because you've mentioned it a few times. Video game, yeah. Just the one.
Just the one game.
Yeah.
Yeah, we touched on it earlier on, didn't we?
Yeah. When was the last time you went into a game store? Game as in the brand game. There's a video game retailer in the high street called Game in the UK.
Yeah, formerly Electronics Boutique for those older members of our audience. Yeah, and then that split. We had Game and Game Station for a brief time, and then
didn't Game buy out Game Station as well
when they were going bankrupt? Yeah, there's a lot of cross pollination here, but yeah, the video game high street retailer Game, owned by the one and only Mike Ashley of Newcastle United fame, Sports Direct fame, House of Fraser fame. I think he owns the Fraser Group now. That's how he got a lot of these places. He's basically the leech devil that hangs about and waits until company's about to go bust, and then he acquires their property. We're
not going to controversy about Mike Ashley. If you want to know about the man, Google it. There's some horror stories about staff working for him and stuff. He's not. He's a pretty controversial figure in retail in the UK.
He is. Yeah. Actually, as a side note, have you seen this week's story that he's started a lawsuit against Newcastle United because they've signed a deal to sell their kits through JD Sports and instead of his Sports Direct branches, and he's trying to countersue them, saying it's bad for the consumer that they can go in JD instead of Sports Direct to buy the shirt. It's like, I'm pretty sure the clubs have their own prerogative of where they want to sell their merchandise. They don't have to be beholden to. Yeah. Either way, we digress. Yeah. So yes, Game on the high street. They've told all their employees pretty much to expect redundancies as the companies move towards employing 0-hour contracts across the board for any non-permanent members of staff. So for those who don't know, the common practice across multiple of his chains is that a lot of the staff, they don't give them, like part-time staff do not get contracts beyond 0 hour. So if you're like
even full-time staff rarely do.
Yeah, it's basically anyone outside of leadership roles, I think. So if you're not a manager, like a store manager, you are on a 0-hour contract. So you work when it's available. So can you come in these days? Short notice, all that. Like those terrible business practice that gives you no reassurance of your wage, essentially.
And it gives the manager full power to ring you up and go, oh, we need you in now. And you go, no, I was like, well, I'm just not going to give you any shifts anymore.
Yeah. If you can't get in this afternoon, then you get no shifts next week.
I talked to someone from our local council before about 0-hour contracts. She came in to do some consulting. I was just curious, but basically, effectively, you are on a 0-hour contract. Unless you are actively on the clock, you're effectively unemployed because you have just no rights. But let's put that aside.
What a great place to be in 2024 when prices are going up and you'd like to have a stable wage, essentially.
When was the last time you went in one of their stores? Because I've been in recently.
I think I inadvertently walked through one that was part of a Sports Direct while buying some trainers, and I was like, I'm in a game shop now. There's Funko Pops everywhere.
I actively chose to go to one, again, in Middlesbrough. I was there with my girlfriend doing some shopping. We went in, and it was the saddest thing I've ever seen. It was a tiny fucking corner. I hate Sports Direct, to be honest. It's cheap, but it's like a jumble sale. It's a sort of shop where it feels crowded if there's two people in it.
There's many children were lost in Sports Direct.
Yeah, there's no space between ours. It's very claustrophobic, and there's a tiny little corner at the back, and I just felt like, is this the best you can do for video game retail? I know people aren't buying the games physically anymore, but there's gaming merch, there's Funko Pops, there's T-shirts you could buy, there's physical hardware. I truly believe there is a way of having a gaming-focused retail store without your major sales having to be the games themselves.
Yeah.
You could turn it into a kind of place...
Like a Forbidden Planet.
Yes, Forbidden Planet for games. That's the kind of thing, this is where people into video game culture can go to buy their gaming paraphernalia.
Yeah.
But instead it's become a shitty corner in a shitty sports shop.
Yeah, it's a bad sign of the times, but we wanted to highlight it because I think it pretty much is the last nail in the coffin. I think for Game as a franchise, we've seen them reduce their footprint. They've closed a lot of the flagship stores. They've gone into smaller units, and it very much looks like cardboard shelves, cardboard signage. Everything's just reduced down to almost like charity shop levels of investment, where it's just minimal. It's just we have the premise, everything just gets flung in, left, and just see if people buy stuff. Which is it's a shame to look back at the heydays of midnight launches and everything. Just I used to love it. And again, it's the sign of the times with the rise of digital and stuff. But I think other than like even like supermarkets have cut back. Like my local Tesco doesn't have a game section anymore, other than like the little voucher cards you can buy for digital currency and Minecraft points and V-Bucks.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well.
There is no place to walk and browse. It's like we are literally on the cusp of like it's online orders or bust, and this goes back to like digital preservation, which is one of our next stories, because I think it's done. I think by usually these game stores survive on hardware launches. But the reality is everything's digital.
For a time, I think you're still going to have the second-hand stuff, like where CEX, I think, survives on second-hand stuff. But they also do other tech stuff as well. They're not full 100% gaming focused.
You need to sell everything, don't you, really?
But as more and more of the gaming landscape goes to digital, like I've just been recommending in this show, people go buy the newest AAA Star Wars game on Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah. We're part of the problem.
100%.
But again, then that's where it comes back to like, I mean, as a collector, it just means what I have on my shelves goes up in value. But you'll see me on Antiques Roadshow trying to sell Lego Star Wars, the classic PlayStation 3. Like, how much do you want for it? $2,000. Because you can't get it anywhere, you can't play it anywhere.
You mentioned video game preservation. Xbox doing some interesting stuff.
They are. They've got a whole team. Still digital preservation though, but
it's
what's going on?
I mean, digital preservation is better than no preservation at all.
That's true.
You, Nintendo. So Xbox have set up a game preservation team and wants the biggest technical leap ever for its next generation system. So Xbox have got a dedicated team to focus on making sure that their games are going to be compatible with basic technology going forward indefinitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is another point to prove that Xbox, I think they're going early with next gen, you know. I think everything is lined up to be like they're going to bite the bullet like Nintendo did with the Wii U and say, this generation has not served us that well. Yeah. We're going to release the next console. I can see next hardware coming. I think we'll get the Switch 2 next year and the next Xbox.
The year after. Or next year as
well. Same, yeah. I think by next Christmas we'll have 2 new consoles and kickstart the next gen.
And maybe Sony go for a Pro because I can't see the next gen for Xbox being a huge step up on the X. What I think the next gen for Xbox is getting rid of the S. Because we keep hearing more and more story about the S holding back Xbox at the moment. And but if they go a new generation, they can jettison the S.
Well, we've got rumours of that handheld that we covered last week.
Yeah.
So, I can see a Switch, a handheld, and a new Xbox console for 2025. Then we'll get the PS5 Pro, and I think PlayStation, through rhyme or reason, are going to be like the ones out of cycle for a change. But I don't think that'll do Sony any disservice. But
instead of like an Xbox Series X Pro, I think they're just going to call it something else. But I think it's going to effectively be a Pro, but launch it as a new generation. Rather than as a third iteration in this current one. Draw a line under it. A lot of games might still be X compatible, but I think they're going to try and sunset the S, which is a shame because the S is a good console. Mm-hmm. But if publishers are going to them going, we're struggling to justify development for you because of the Series S, that is a problem.
But then talking about preservation, in fact, and backwards compatibility, this is where Microsoft, I would argue, have done the best job ever of, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because I can go and buy like a disc if I have a disc, or I can buy it digitally, and it goes right back to the 360 and beyond without really any hassle, because it gets its up-res, it gets its frame rate boost, it gets its graphic fidelity polish, and that's great. And then if they bring out a new console, it'll still continue.
From a personal point of view, Microsoft bring out a new generation of console next year, hypothetically. Mm-hmm. They're doing another Xbox All Access kind of thing. I could be tempted by that, because my Series S Xbox All Access, I think, runs out in November, maybe September. Mm-hmm. It runs out this year, and after that I'll just be playing Game Pass Ultimate. And then I go back and go, you know what, I'm going to take out another All Access thing for 2 years again, buy the new Xbox, to get the new Xbox. They've got me locked in for another 2 years, and I'll keep my Series S as a second, like how I have my PS4 at the moment. I have my PS5 on the shelf behind me, my PS4 is downstairs, and I use remote play a lot sometimes if I'm sat on the couch to go hack into my PS5 to play PS5 games. Mm-hmm. But if I'm playing a PS4 game natively anyway, I've said many times I don't have like a 4K screen, so a lot of the benefits between PS4 and PS5 I don't actually receive.
Yeah.
So if it's a dedicated PS4 game, I'll just play on my PS4. So I could do a similar thing with my Series S. I would be actually very tempted to that. Or I just give it my girlfriend.
Yeah,
she wants one.
Mine's similar to you. I think my all access ends on 3rd of October 2024.
So mine's probably November because you went first. Yeah.
Yeah. So decisions to be made by the end of the year for Christmas. But we need Xbox to tell us. But I love the fact that they're preserving games. I think they're definitely the 4 front runners for that, and long may it continue. But yeah, interesting them setting up a dedicated team for that, which just shows that my guess is the dedicated team is to keep it going into the next gen. So it's like, great, we did loads of stuff this time. Yeah, you just keep it going.
I like it rather than being an afterthought, because they're going, you know what, we want every game that we produce from the original Xbox to the newest game ever available to play on the newest console ever. I think that's a good ambition that they got. So it's something that Sony, I think, probably need a dedicated team to get PS3 sorted. Because if you could
a big gap.
add all the PS1 games, all the PS2 games, all the PS3 games to their library, to their store, not just through the cloud, that's a huge step in the right direction. Obviously, that comes with the caveat of licensing agreements and stuff with publishers and rights holders and stuff. But every game that they can. Because don't you think it'd be cool to just go on your PlayStation store and you just have, there's your, like, instead of, at the moment it's just a filter, but you just go PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5, and you just go into which section you go, now here's the PS5 only games. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing them do it with the classics, aren't we, where they bring them back with trophy spot, and like, weirdly enough, things like Resistance Retribution, which is a PSP game, that got an update where they added a new game mode, like a horde mode, and additional content, because like my brother messaged me going like as if like not only is it classic, but then they're still like they're adding updates to it after the fact it's launched, which is like this is a game that's like 20-year-old nearly from a PSP, and it's like but you need to do that across everything, because like PlayStation 3's library is so rich.
Imagine
just sat
if
there.
Sony rejigged PlayStation Plus again, went back to the old thing where just every month you get a couple of games drop, but then did like the Nintendo style expansion pass. You know, where you can go, we're going to add for the Nintendo online expansion pass, you're going to get an N64 and Game Boy Advance. Imagine if you had a small subscription fee for every different platform, like PS1 all the way through to like PS3 plus Vita and PSP. And you can go like, you can pay an extra £2 a month to get all the PS1 games, an extra £4 a month to get all the PS2 games.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I mean, Sony won't do it because they probably lose money, but great for consumers.
They could do it.
Mid-month additions to PS Plus, Chris. I'll go quickly through the list because we are almost an hour and a half into the show, and then you can decide if you want to talk about any of them. Tales of Kenzara Zhao. These are for mid-month April. Dave the Diver, Oddballers, Construction Simulator, The Crew 2, Raji an Epic Adventure, Lego Ninjago movie video game, Nawa Play With Your Food, Deliverers Mars, Lego Marvel's Avengers, Miasma Chronicles, and Stray Blade. Any jump out to you?
For you in particular, I'd say if you're enjoying Lego Marvel Heroes, Avengers is right up your street off the back of that, because it's just the same thing but with the Avengers storyline. So fairly boots.
I'm kind of playing for them with my girlfriend. She already owns it. I actually did tell her about it when I was. When? I texted her earlier when I was prepping the show.
Deliverers Mars. Yeah. Is follow up to Deliverers the Moon. Yeah. Deliverers the Moon.
Dave the Diver, I think, is the pick of these, and Tales is like Kenzara being a day one release.
Yeah, which we've spoke about. Yeah, I think it's a solid month, but it's a month that we already knew quite a bit about.
So last few stories to quickly go over. Immortals of Aveum devs have furloughed most of the staff. They've already laid off a lot of staff, I think end of last year, but now they've put a lot of the remaining staff, reportedly around about 30 members of staff on furlough. Not a great look for them.
No, I mean, obviously, we said last week? Because Immortals went into PlayStation Plus for April, right? So
it did, and I've been meaning to actually jump in the plate, but then Fallout's happened, so I might just push it down the line.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the game in general, is it launched into a busy period last year. It struggled. The studio had to make layoffs, which we usually see after a game launches poorly, because like they've got overheads they need to pay and keeping hold of staff when the game isn't requiring any support, or they might not have the budget to go ahead with the next title without downsizing. But furlough's an odd one, because we know from COVID times that furlough means like they're not unemployed, they're just paid at a reduced wage while the company figures out its direction or its finances.
They are, but usually that money comes from another party, because the staff are not allowed to do any work for the company. Mm-hmm. Which there's pluses and minuses to furlough. The pluses is if this is a short-term thing with a clear end in sight, or a tragic thing like COVID happening, the intention is, we can't, for safety reasons, we can't really function, or our business is currently obsolete for a period of time. However, when it's over, you come back to work, you still got your job. Mm-hmm. The downside of this could be, if there's no end in sight, these staff are furloughed, getting effectively a wage cut, with no end in sight, their job security is up in the air, and they've not been laid off. So if the company goes bankrupt in that time, they might get out. Where if you're laid off, they have to pay out your contract effectively.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know. And this is Ascendant Studios' first game as well. So it's not exactly they have reserves of cash, probably.
Yeah. If they broke even, that's probably the best thing. I think maybe the EA publishing got them a bit of money, but as you said,
I'm not sure they have, though.
Not enough, anyway.
Yeah.
To maybe start up a new project. So I think maybe a downsize to maybe an indie studio is the best bet. But I think when your staff is tainted and they're scattered to the wind, it's maybe easy to just call it down and say, look, we tried. It
didn't land. We don't have the resources to give it another go. It's a shame, because you want when new studios pop up, you want them to do well, because it stops the homogenization of the industry. It stops all the big players eating all the smaller players when new studios keep popping up.
Especially when the game looked great as well. Like from a new studio to like launch and hit so keen on the mark with graphics, but then just maybe let down by the launch plans or the marketing. But EA saw enough in it to co-publish it. So like it obviously had something. And again, its reviews weren't terrible. It just hit. It's just a bad, busy year. It landed in the best year for video games. And if you're not up there,
it's a problem we've talked about a lot of times. A game can be good, but when people are busy and games are expensive, is good enough. When it's hard to be a good game when there's lots of great games around.
Yeah. I mean, looking at a poll from Push Square, it says, are you happy with your PlayStation Plus for April? 47% said no, it's a crap selection. So people weren't happy with it, but then when voted about what game they're looking forward to the most, Immortals of Aveum, 23%. Minecraft Legends, only 5%. So actually it's got a lot more interest than Minecraft Legends based on the poll. Skull the Hero Slayer, 6%, and then 64% none of them, to be honest. So it's a skewed vote, but... it's unfortunate, but hopefully their staff will be safe and they'll be able to find work elsewhere. And again, I guess the talent hopefully can find themselves. If like obviously they are good enough to produce a gorgeous looking game, it's not their fault with a lot of it. It's more just leadership. So we'll see.
This is my issue though. I feel sorry for anyone in the video game industry losing a job, because there's so many, and there's so many studios downsizing, consolidating, laying people off. You have an influx of talent into the who are now unemployed, looking for work. And the horrible thing about that is, it means effectively your terms and conditions are probably going to be worse, because if you go into an interview asking for one thing and there's someone else who's probably equivalent of you asking for less, you've lost it, which then takes money out of the pockets of the people that actually make the games, even if they get employed. And there's also less jobs, which means talent's going to leave the industry, because ultimately this is a job for people and they want to put bread on the table. They've got bills to pay. So that's why I hate hearing about any studio having to lay off people or furlough people. But when there's so many of them, it gets me really worried for the state of the industry.
It's an interesting time, especially with all the changes to subscription models and digital, and seemingly from last week's report of 60% of games are played came out over 5 years ago. It's an interesting one.
Games are expensive nowadays, and people are really tightening up the purse strings. It's
disposable income is non-existent.
Yeah. On that note, do you want another Prince of Persia game, Chris? Because there's one coming in May.
Apparently, yeah. What's the deal with this one? Because from everything that my brain told me up until this week was like, we've had a new Prince of Persia game. It reviewed very, very well. So came out in January. Game of the a lot of people's like Game of the Year lists already.
Yeah.
And Ubisoft go, well, why not have another one?
Yes, and to clarify, this is another 2D action platformer. So it's not a 3D. So it's not like, oh yeah, this is not the remake of Sands of Time. This is just another 2D action platform made by the guys who made Dead Cells, studio at Evil Empire, which I feel a bit sorry for them in this, because the game looks good, but I don't think it looks as good as the Lost Crown.
No, I'm with you on that one.
It's so close together.
Yeah, Dead Cells, phenomenal title, like one of the best 2D Metroidvanias we've had in recent years. And then the studio get a great deal. Like, imagine being the studio, like, you've done Dead Cells, you've got your flowers, you've got your acclaim, and then Ubisoft go, you know what? Prince of Persia, like, arguably one of the very first, like, before Metroidvania was even a coined phrase, to do it. And they're like, you know what, you can make, in the absence of us doing any Prince of Persia shit, here's the IP, go do something. And then internally, Ubisoft also have their own studio make a Prince of Persia game, and they go first to critical acclaim and praise. And then you come out within when's it due? What was the date they've got locked in?
Early access comes to Steam on May the 14th. We don't have a full release date yet.
Right. So if early access is mid-May, you're probably talking by the end of the summer at least.
Yeah.
Probably. So yeah, and then they're going, so we're going to get no Prince of Persia for over a decade, and then we're going to get 2.
It's just such a Ubisoft decision.
It is. It really, really is. But I completely agree with you. The visuals on this one, it's called the Rogue Prince of Persia. Yeah. It looks cool, but the visuals on the one that came out in January look so much better.
I mean, this is a subjective thing, but I agree with you. Some other people might look at this and go, this is more my jam in terms of the art style. Putting the art style aside, it's like, it does feel like just... I mean, it's too soon between them. Like, this is like bringing out Immortals Phoenix Rising right next to Assassin's Creed. They look different, they play a bit different, but they are very much games of a similar genre, of the same genre.
Yeah, I think the Lost Crown in January spoiled us, unfortunately, where it was just so visually gorgeous. And then in a weird way, the way games typically work is, we just spoke about the Zao game that's coming out this month on PlayStation Plus. That visually looks gorgeous, and it's a 2D action platformer. So is this game going to get
from
totally...
Ubisoft?
No,
so
but
that's a competitor rather than these things. Like, Ubisoft should be looking at their release schedule and go, let's not put 2 almost very, very similar games right next to each other.
Yeah,
because this could be a fantastic game, but because of how well Lost Crown did, if it's not as good as Lost Crown, it's going to constantly be compared to that.
Yeah, and
so
the Lost
it's not
Crown
going to be able
to
showwe've what it is in its own right, because we've
the
always
Lost
started
Crown
comparing it.
Has like a roadmap with their DLC and new content coming throughout the year as well, which is going to clash with this inevitably. But it's such a Ubisoft thing, isn't it?
If I was the management of the Dead Cells devs, I would be quite pissed by this, to be honest. It's like, because they've been working on this, it looks like a solid game. It's probably a passion project. It's like, really, Ubisoft bringing out effectively a game that directly competes with our game right next to our game? Feels a bit. I hope it does well, to be honest. I really just. But it's like, but if I had to, as I said, for Star Wars, I'm probably going to get Ubisoft Plus. Unfortunately, it's Lost Crown if I'm going to play a Prince of Persia game that I'm going to jump into.
Yeah. Well,
this has a chance. It still has a chance if the reviews come, but one feels like a safer bet.
All we need now at the Ubisoft Forward in June is for them to announce that the Sands of Time remake is also coming this year. And it's coming on the same day as Outlaws, just to Ubisoft the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you going to do?
You know what we can do, Chris?
What?
Look at this week in video game history.
Yeah, we can.
So
not much.
Not much, no. I had a look earlier. There's not much. Is there anything at all that jumps out at you?
Across our 3-day weekend window, so April 14th to the 16th, my top picks are probably going to be Injustice Gods Among Us, because I think that's super cool, and Dreams, bless it, on the PlayStation, and for us, for me personally, World War Z, 5 years ago, came out.
I think it's only World War Z that I've seen that I actually have played. Oh, actually, I'm going to caveat that. 13th of April, because we're recording on Sunday, we usually go forward a few days. If I go back a day...
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah.
The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. That is like one of the definitive games of like the Nintendo Entertainment, the Super Nintendo.
How long ago was that? How many years?
1 billion. 32.
Jade Empire came out on the Xbox.
It's still held up as one of the... There's like Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild are kind of the free. They're the free Zelda games.
Yeah. Other than that, now I'm looking back and forward a couple of days. Nothing really for me. Gran Turismo 5 on the PS3. That's about it.
Yeah.
Middle of April, quiet in video game history, unfortunately. No Prince of Persia games.
No Prince of Persia games. No, because they all come out at the same time. But that's all we have time for you this week. Make sure if you haven't already, you like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell icon to keep the loop of all fantastic content here. We will be returning this Thursday with a new live stream, and hopefully the servers will work on us this time. Probably Fallout 76. Keep an eye on our socials for information on that. The links for everything you need in the description below. We have a merch store, we have a Discord, so we'd like to see you over there, because we are thinking about doing a bracket for maybe the most iconic video game of all time. Still working on producing the list, and it's going to take a bit of work to kind of pull together how we're going to do it, so nothing really to announce, but it is something we're looking into.
Yeah, we had a few people writing about it.
Yeah.
As well. But
so
we're on it.
I've started pulling a list of stuff together. If you want to submit songs, head over to our Discord. There's a channel dedicated to it. And with that, my name's been Richie.
I've been Chris.
GG, everyone. Goodbye.
GG.